All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Natty News Daily Podcast. James here, joined with Dan. We're back from the 2021 Yorton Cup weekend. So we kind of wanted to do a little bit of a spontaneous episode. We let everything marinate in our brains for a day, and we wanted to kind of reflect back on the weekend, the experience, and kind of talk about some of the results and the standings because they were pretty interesting. Being there in person was certainly an experience that I'm glad that I was there. Got to see Dan compete himself, but also see some real legends on stage. Before we dive into it, I also want to thank, there were actually a handful of people that came up to us in person and, thanked us for what we do here and actually recognized us for what we do here. And that to me was just a really surreal experience.
That was
So
super cool, man.
yeah. You guys were thanking us, but really it's us. We should be thanking you, like the viewers, the subscribers, all that, because we wouldn't be doing this. Or I guess we kind of had been doing it before, but now we have a platform to really share our experiences and kind of share this sport and our passion for it with you guys. So thank you to our viewers. Every like, subscribe, share, it really kind of helps us and helps the sport in general.
We
So
appreciate the love. We really do.
yeah. So Dan, let's start with you. You were a competitor there. Let's hear, from, I'm sitting in the crowd. I've got a camera. I thought it was cool, but you competing on that big stage with guys like Brian Whitacre. I know you weren't in the same division there, but being backstage with people like that, how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome experience. I mean, yeah, it was the best of the best. I mean, that's the big reason I picked the Yorton is because I wanted to throw my hat in the ring of the best and see the best of the best, be among the best of the best. And uh, the show delivered. I mean, I competed in Classic in this show, which was a super large class, 20 competitors, broken up into two classes, so that was enormous. And then the Open really brought up some really big names, and we'll go through that in a second. But overall, yeah, it was pretty awesome. Uh,
Mhm.
so
Why don't you pull up that photo just so people can really see the breadth of the competition that you were facing there with the Classic Physique division?
sure.
And this is something that I've brought up. People ask me what division, what organization, who should I go with? I myself started with Classic Physique and OCB as well. And I always found that specifically for Classic Physique, OCB always has a really good showing and really good competition. I feel like that division for them is always growing and always becoming more and more competitive.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. So let me do one of these. Give me 1 second here.
Here we go.
So this is my class,
Mhm.
class A of Classic Physique. So this is, as you can see, there's just 10 competitors in my class, and then there are 10 in the other class. So um,
Mhm.
a lot of guys, a lot of guys. There's
Mhm.
that, and then let me
And it
actually
was
see these.
certainly tough judging. I mean, that many competitors. It's obviously the
Here
Yorton
I am
Cup,
in
so
the middle,
nobody's there out,
guys on the
nobody's there
side.
out of shape or anything. And there's some very impressive physiques there for sure.
So with this, they took the they did the prejudging, did the individuals, and then took the top three from each class um, for the overall, and then crown the top three competitors. James, do you have anything to add on the classes, the depth, the you know?
What I did, it was sitting there in the crowd, every physique, and I especially noticed this kind of in the individual presentations, right? Because and we see this on Instagram a little bit. When you're in a group, it's a lot easier to tell the differences. But every person that came out for their individual routine, there was something that you're like, wow, look at that. Like, oh man, like it's either if it's a pose or their symmetry or their conditioning. So like regardless of placing all of these people, they earn their pro status and they earn that stage for sure.
Yeah, there were a lot of really great competitors. So we'll get into the top three for the classic physique. So as you can see, this is our top three. So
So it
uh,
hasn't switched over on my side yet, Dan.
Can you not see it yet?
Mm-mm.
Which one? Which one are you seeing?
Still seeing your class there.
Can you see this?
Now I see you. Yep.
Uh,
We are not the most tech savvy here.
it's every time I open a new photo, it's like a new tab, so I have to reshare.
Gotcha.
There's my class again.
There we go.
Eh,
Solid pose for you. Your
I'm
go-to
just gonna have
classic
to.
pose.
I'm just gonna have to just jump and individually share.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
okay
It's
though.
working now. So here we go.
So
Top
here's our
3 for
top
classic
3.
physique. Yep.
So this is what our top 3 was. So in third place, Justin Amy. So Justin is on the right-hand side there. And
Rocking the
then
C-bum stash.
rocking the stash. We got a couple stashes in
Couple,
this lineup. And then in second place we had, and if I butcher names, I'm sorry, Guido Lopez, who looked
Mhm.
awesome.
Looked
Great,
fantastic.
great shape, great size.
Mhm.
Conditioning was very
Really,
good. And
really good posing with his individual routine
yeah,
too. Very fluid. And actually something they pointed out during his routine was this was his pro debut. So taking second place in Classic Physique in the Yorton Cup as your pro debut, nothing to be ashamed of at all.
definitely someone to look out for.
Mhm.
That's for sure. And your winner, 2-time, and the only, he's won the only 2 Classic
Mhm.
Physique Yorton Cups. Natty News alum, not alum, but I can't talk right now. Natty News. What would the word be for that?
I like alum. I think that's fitting.
Alum.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Previous
Tracy
guest.
Norwood.
Yeah. Tracy, who we just
Total
interviewed
stud.
right before. Yeah.
Total stud.
Looked phenomenal, deserved it, set himself apart for sure. But great guy too. If you have not
Yeah.
watched that episode where we interview him, I certainly encourage you to. He's got a really remarkable competitive history himself. But yeah, go watch that episode.
So, okay. I will get to. Now we can get into the open.
Yeah.
So
So
the open,
I was actually
we
thinking about
saw
something,
the
Dan.
return. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So actually on that turn, the return of Brian Whitacre to the stage, right? After a long absence. Should we tell them about how we first met him? So we
I stole his
the
bench.
first yeah, you stole his seat. You stole the legend's seat. We go backstage. There's what looks like an empty bench. There's people everywhere. There's chairs everywhere. There's an
It was
open spot. Like, all right, we're gonna
it
park it
was a
right
little bit of a
here.
mess because well, not a mess, but it was just a weird backstage because it was a just big long hallway rather than like a room. So it was like, and we're I it was yeah. I was like,
Sweet.
empty bench, and nobody was there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna set my stuff here, and then yeah, over
Yeah.
walks Brian. So that
Yeah. So
was really
I
cool.
didn't even notice it was him at first because I was still looking down at the bag. So we have all this stuff down, and some guy comes walking up. It's like, hey, like I was there, respectfully, not like rude
Yeah,
or
no,
anything like
he was
that.
completely
And we
cool
just
about it.
look up and like met eyes, and like it took me a little bit longer than you. And you're like, oh my gosh, Brian. And he's like,
I
yeah.
don't think I
I was like,
said
oh
that.
my god,
I don't think I
something
got that
something pretty
story.
similar. Maybe that
But
was what was in my head.
that was in you, yeah.
But it was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, we
we will
introduced ourselves. So.
certainly move all of our stuff out of your way.
Yeah, we just grabbed a chair. We parked up right next to him and got a front row view of him
Yeah.
pumping up. And James
Yeah.
got some
So
great photos as well, which I don't know if we'll share today, but maybe we'll share it on the
yeah,
Natty
we
News.
had the surrounded. So one side we got Brian Whitacre right behind us, Levi Burge, and then on the other side we got the returning champ
Yeah,
Magnum all
Magnum was
pumping
right on
up.
my other side too, which seeing his
Yeah.
legs from the side was just nuts,
Yeah.
nuts. But
Yeah.
really, really great lineup, which I will share
Mm.
some photos here shortly. I have to open it first and then share, which is obnoxious, but well, first let's share. Brian Whitacre's from his individual show, since he made the comeback.
Mm-hmm. And I think these would be good to see. Obviously, I'm still working on the tech side of things with the photography. Couldn't be as close as I want. I don't have the lens that I just quite want yet. But I know from the feed, a couple people were commenting like, "Oh, I'm sure his conditioning was good, but I couldn't really tell." It was. It was
Very
absolutely.
good.
And
You could see
I
his,
know these are,
yeah.
not super zoomed in, but he was just as conditioned as previous competitive years.
Let's see what happens if I do this. Nope, that doesn't work. But yeah,
You could probably
it's
zoom in
awesome.
on the photo itself because I mean they should be good enough
I
quality
could.
where it
We'll
comes
get into
through.
the let me find a comparison. So we'll get into which shot do we want? We'll go here. This is a good one. So we've got, so they did all sorts of call outs. They worked these guys for 30 minutes in pre-judge.
30 minutes. And that's
30
not an
minutes.
exaggeration.
It
30
was
minutes.
actually
These guys
30
were on
minutes.
stage. They had 3 different groupings come up. So they had, everyone out at once. They had, a handful of people step back. They worked a group. They brought up a second group, worked them, kind of new alterations. And these guys were out there a while.
So this is
Yeah.
one of the call outs. So the most noteworthy two would be Levi here in the middle, and then Brian obviously off to the left of him. Levi's color was really great in this show. I know he had some issues with it. At the Mr. America, there was some miscommunications about the use of Dream Tan, and I know that I've heard secondhand that he used another product at the Mr. America, which gave him some issues at the last show, but he came in looking really, really nice, shiny, dark. I think he did use Pro Tan. That looks like Pro Tan to me, and I believe I saw him applying Pro Tan. He cleaned it up for the show, and he looked phenomenal, as you can see. But
and you can see the difference that tan makes, right? Like we know both Levi and Brian were absolutely shredded, but look at just like the contrast there with Levi. I mean, the lighting picked up everything there.
Here now I'm able to scroll through photos. I'm scrolling. I'm not like I can't go left and right, but I can. It's scrolling works. So
yeah, I mean, it was pretty remarkable to see these guys
Levi
pose
is
for
a monster.
that long. Yeah, and he held. So this was something I guess we can talk about overall placings a little bit. I was out there watching. He spent the vast majority of every grouping he was in dead center. So, based on that alone, you have some assumptions, right? And, I couldn't, I'm not a judge. I'm off to the side. I'm not super up close and personal like they are. I could not find a fault with his physique. He just kept drawing my eye. Fantastic color, fantastic proportions. He's got the density, he's got the size. But we know ultimately the judges sided with Magnum. So Magnum,
so
Levi.
we'll get into the top 3 here. So Brian ended up taking 4th. So he was not in the top 3 call out. So center stage, our winner and defending champ, Magnum.
Defending 2-time
back
champ,
to back,
McRae. Yep.
back to back. Levi took 2nd, and Corey Brown took 3rd. The interesting thing about that is that Corey Brown won the Mr. America a couple weeks ago and beat Levi. So this time they flip flopped and Levi edged out Corey. So kind of interesting to see that, those little things. I think bringing in a better color, Levi looked a little bit sharper. And little things can make a big difference, especially with these top guys, because these guys are good. These guys are really good. But it was interesting to see that Brian did not make that top 3. But this is these 3 guys for are phenomenal. And
Mhm.
also, I mean, Levi gave Magnum a run for his money too. So, I mean, James, you can talk about that a little bit because you saw them
Mhm.
a little more than I did because I was competing, obviously. Um,
Mhm.
but you
Yeah.
saw them a little bit more on stage together.
Yeah, and I'm going to preface all of these following statements by the fact that I like fully respect all of these athletes, and there's a reason they're the top. They are fantastic. So any critique from me is certainly armchair quarterbacking because I'm an amateur that can't even be compared at all to these guys.
I have a
Um,
comparison photo with Magnum, which I'll show, which is funny
yeah,
almost.
yeah, just show show the comparison there.
I will
But
in a
yeah,
second.
so Levi versus Magnum. Magnum, you can see the height difference in this photo, right? So a taller individual, it's much harder to have that full dense look, which Magnum has, right? Like you mentioned his legs from the side,
Oh my
being
God.
up close and personal, the guy's legs are freaking tree trunks from the side. They're not, they're good from the front too, but it's just like that's something that certainly stood out to me as well. But when you compare him to a smaller, shorter, not smaller, a shorter guy like Levi, who just has meat just hanging off of him, like Levi's lats when he bends over are just like ridiculous. Like I
Oh,
remember
I
just
know.
seeing that backstage. He's just got just slabs of meat hanging off of him. When you put those type of people together and compare them, I don't know if it's a preference of mine or if it's just the symmetry of Levi that I really like, but I would have probably put Levi over Magnum. And again, that's no slight on either one of them. Somebody has to make a decision. Wasn't me, but his density just really stood out as being a very full package. Where again, being the taller bodybuilder, Magnum has to almost like up that even more to get that full, look where you don't have from certain sides or certain poses, less of that density. And from the posing side, like obviously in certain individual shots, they have their strong poses. I felt that maybe Levi was a little more fluid in his transitions and small things like that. But again, that's my opinion. That could be someone else has a very different opinion. So, and I don't want to overlook Corey there in third place. Like the guy looks really, really good as well. I mean, we've shared some of his backstage shots and just, his quads ridiculous, his chest is ridiculous. All of those guys are top athletes for sure.
Yeah, I don't think he's fully hitting his quads here
Hmm.
in this photo, but his quads were separated. They were separated. I saw him at Mr. America close up and at this show, and yeah, they were separated. So this photo
Hmm.
doesn't do him justice. But yeah, really solid uh solid top three. So and
Hmm.
then let me get into there's me with Magnum. So to give perspective on which I don't know if this is actually what happened, but I'm bold. I asked Magnum to well not I asked Magnum for a photo to grab a photo, but I'm bold and I said let's hit him most muscular. So I think that might have been the reaction that I got whenever I asked for most muscular. That's my theory at least.
Yeah, a
Asking
little bit of
a
a
monster like
rookie mistake
Magnum.
there.
Most muscular is one of my that's probably one of my money shots. So and my delts are
Yeah,
probably one of my better areas. So to give perspective, this is you know Magnum's
yeah,
a freak, man. He's a
yeah.
phenomenal
Big,
bodybuilder, and
big guy. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned that how close it was between the two of them, but yeah, I really can't say anything bad about the judge's decision.
No.
That's I I think it's a well within to make that decision. I probably would have taken Magnum. I didn't see enough, but
Hmm.
he's just so big, man. He's just so big, man, and his condition was excellent, and he's just yeah a freak. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Individual preferences can lead to different decisions on our end. And that's why you have a panel of judges because that evens out. And then, the best man will rise to the top. All politics aside, I don't think there was anything, like that going on.
I don't think
Everyone that
so
was in
either.
that top, the top four, top five, they were all very, very solid
World
physiques. And
class.
it certainly was hard to judge them, I'm sure, for those judges. So we can all sit back and say, oh, in this one isolated shot from this one angle, this person looks better or that person looks better. But,
Yeah. And like you said, very different physiques too. Very different physiques. I mean, Magnum's a lot taller than Levi. Brian Whitacre brought alien-like conditioning that, was just lights out, and just
it's
very,
just a matter of
very
what the
different
judges want
size,
on
shape,
that day and that
height.
lighting,
So
yeah,
it was really cool. I mean, it's phenomenal, really phenomenal athletes. So
yeah. And here's the thing too, I want to point out, we talked, we're talking about these guys that are world-class athletes, but behind the stage, they were such, gentlemen. You got me with a camera in their face, obviously asking for permission and stuff, but they've got this kid that nobody knows bugging them, legends of the sport, for photos backstage and pumping up and asking questions and kind of interviewing them a little bit. And they were all gracious and, very receptive to what we were doing. So, it's really good to see that kind of environment behind the stage. And that just speaks a lot for the coming generations of bodybuilders, if these are the guys that are kind of leading the sport forward.
absolutely, yeah. That's something I've been, I've talked about. I've been very impressed with a lot of these elite, especially the elite competitors at these top end shows. Is a lot of these guys are just really great guys, off the stage. So, which is great to see, the respect that these guys, and the way these guys carry themselves, and really, really world class all around. So very, very, very good experience from my end. I had a great show. I'll let me share. Why not? I'll share one photo. Let me share this
May
again.
as well. Hype it up.
I think I have a. There's I think I kind of skipped over it, but there's a side serratus, which I just shared on my page if you want to take a look. But so that was pretty cool. So this is one of this is kind of the biggest show that I was targeting this season. It's not the last show of my season, but it was the primary target. So very, very cool to get on the stage and compete with the best of the best. So that's about what I have for today. I think that kind of covers most of our thoughts. I'm sure we have lots more, but that's the high levels. We just wanted to get on here and kind of recap it a little bit, since we were both there. Me and myself, I was competing, so I saw these guys up close, and got to the competing experience. And then James, you were able to watch a lot more than I was. Watch the actual show, watch the comparisons, watch from the crowd, and grab some great photos and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to share our perspective on the show, and how things went. And there were some interesting decisions that or I don't want to say, maybe not interesting, but guys that were neck and neck, and like I said, with Levi and Corey swapping spots from Mr. America to Yorton was interesting. So these guys are competitors. It's it's tight. It's tight.
It is, absolutely.
It's a game of
standard
inches.
For the sport it's increasing every single year. That's for sure. It's it was a very humbling weekend for myself. I competed last year. You get the itch. If you ever need to convince yourself you need a longer off season, go to one of these top shows and just look at these physiques. And then I won't be competing anytime soon.
Need some slabs of tissue. Yeah,
I got some work to do, that's for sure. So let's wrap it up there. As always, like, subscribe, follow. We've had a huge number of new followers lately, and we absolutely appreciate it. We are that much closer to that 10K mark that we've been hoping for before the year. So as always, if you like it, give it a like, a subscribe, a follow, a comment. Let us know your thoughts of the results in the comments on the Instagram that we'll post here. And
feel free to disagree with us too, if you disagree with us. But thank you guys. Really appreciate all the support that we've been getting, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you.